Cool. I didn't know how this was going to go because of the high school seasons too. I had a bunch of responses that Joyce, we want the recording. That sounds awesome, but we got practice or we got games. So.
Yay, there's a pulse out there.
Yes, yes.
Cool.
All right. Well, it's at the bottom of an hour according to my time. So let's go ahead. I'm going to share this. We're going to go off of this PowerPoint here, and I'm going to make this just a better view here, slideshow, and so that we can get started. All right, come on. So it is, everybody, National Student Athlete Day, and we thought what better way to do this and celebrate with you guys than to have some current college athletes talk to you about your favorite sport, softball, and give you some insights. You guys get a chance to ask some questions, but we're really excited and honored to have these guys take time out of their busy schedules. As you know, when you're in season, it's very busy, but to give you guys some insights and help. And we're going to go through a couple things. So my name is Joyce Wellhefer. A lot of you maybe have seen me on some other Zooms that I do for you, but I've been here a while. And before that, I was a college coach. I'm not going to go into all those details. But I've been in your shoes way back when, and I had the privilege of coaching in college. So I'm always excited to talk with former athletes like this too, because those were my best days of college coaching and playing. And yeah, it's goes by quick. So, but more importantly, these are the gals that are you're going to be learning from. And so as Jesse has stated, Wichita State got some weather delays and things, so they're going to be joining a little late. We got two gals from there. But Ashley, how about you, since we go in order, we can go in order here, that if you would introduce yourself and really whatever you like, but at least like your high school, where you came from high school and where you're at college-wise, grade-wise. College major would help too, I think. So.
Cool. Sounds good. Hey
Yeah.
guys, I am Ashley Rogers. I am a fifth-year grad student at the University of Tennessee. I'm a pitcher. I am originally from Athens, Tennessee, grew up there my whole life. I played for Meigs County High School, which is actually not where I went to school. I went to a small private Christian school. I had 7 people in my graduating class. So
Wow.
come from a very small hometown, but I love it. And just I'm about an hour away from Knoxville is where I grew up. So I'm a East Tennessee girl, born and raised. And I play at the University of Tennessee as well. I am a kinesiology major. I graduated in 3.5 years. December of 2021, I believe, was when I graduated. And I'm getting my master's in biomechanics right now, and we'll finish that up in May.
Woo, that's a lot. Good for you. Love it, Ashley. Thank you.
Thanks.
And Courtney, unless she's chasing balls.
Hi. Sorry if I sound a little bit out of breath. We are currently doing some extra reps since we leave for Massachusetts this weekend. And I'm currently shagging. But no, so my name's Courtney Coppersmith. I'm from York, Pennsylvania. I go to school at UMBC. I'm a 5th-year grad student, and I did my undergrad in biochem and molecular biology with a double minor, and then I'm doing my master's in chemistry right now.
Awesome. You gals are challenging academics there. My goodness, that's great. And then Jesse.
Yeah, I definitely can't match that academic level that they're doing. I'm a business administration major, but I graduated last year. I go to Regis University. Now I'm a grad student, and so I'm pursuing my master's also in business administration. I'm from Loveland, Colorado. I played for Triple Crown actually, and I went to Loveland High School. I'm a shortstop now. This is my last year playing college softball. And yeah, that's me.
All right. So great. So we're going to start with these three, you guys, and go through some. And then also we got Jessie that she's going to talk about what her company does and with regards to Triple Crown too. So let's go ahead. And so some of these questions just to get into a little bit on the field, we'll let all of you answer. What type of club team did you play for in high school? Could you talk a little bit more about that? Did you stay kind of with the same club, and how did that even impact your recruiting process? And I'm gonna stop share for a bit on that just so we can see you guys better. So anybody first on that? I'll let you guys choose.
I can go. I spoke a little bit about it. I played for Triple Crown all through high school. I never switched. And so that was really cool. I never switched because that was like one of the few programs in Colorado that was super serious about getting me to the next level. And I always knew that's what I wanted, was to play college softball. So Triple Crown was awesome because we traveled as a team. We went to different states all the time, like played all these big tournaments, all this stuff that pretty much mimicked college. And so by the time I got to college, we people who came from Triple Crown at least were prepared, which was super cool. So that's my experience with club ball.
Awesome. That's great insight. Yes. Ashley?
Yeah, I played on a smaller team growing up, all the way from maybe like 10U all the way up through about sophomore year of high school. It was more local. The furthest we went was probably like Atlanta or something. And again, I'm from East Tennessee, so Atlanta's about 3.5 hours from here. So when I got recruited by Tennessee, it was kind of, I'm a little bit of different than most people with their recruiting path. They told me that I needed to play in a more competitive travel team that was going to play better competition, that would prepare me for Tennessee level competition. Granted, it's not the same as SEC, but then I went to Tennessee Fury and I was with them for 3 summers. Yeah, it was great. I learned a lot. I got to play for Ralph Weekly's sons, both of them actually. So that was really cool. I kind of got to get what they were like, and kind of get some insight about Tennessee and stuff. But yeah, they were really competitive. We played in Colorado. We played in California, PGF. We played all those big tournaments. We traveled a lot. So I definitely was exposed to the highest level of competition. We played all the big organizations in California, Batbusters, Choppers, all of them. We played them a lot. So yeah, I definitely exposed me to a higher level of playing that I did not have prior to joining that program.
And Ashley, just a little slower on that part, or a little more expansion on the part, Ralph Weekly and how the relation for them.
Yeah, it was, obviously they're all different, but it's kind of like they would just kind of tell me what to expect and things that wouldn't fly there, like what I should expect going into that program. It's just kind of, it was cool. I don't know. They're all different. They're all a little quirky in their own ways, but it was definitely a cool experience to play for all 3 of the Weekly boys. So
yeah, or I was even meaning like the relationship for some people that don't know. Ralph Weekly was co-coach with Karen at Tennessee, and then his sons coached that travel team. Yes. Yeah,
his son actually, the one that I played for my last year, which is Mark. He actually was our hitting coach, the volunteer assistant for 2 years. I believe my sophomore and junior year, he was our hitting coach as well. So that was cool. I got to play with him a few more times. So yeah.
Yeah. The coaching community is very connected, gals out there with, who's played, and you guys as teammates or played against each other, travel teams, and then all of a sudden now you're on the same teams, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure you guys had some, some team or players that were, like you said, choppers and whatnot, and then they could become future teammates for you.
Yeah, it was cool though. I really enjoyed that part of it, getting to meet the future teammates at tournaments and stuff.
Right. Courtney, are you able to talk?
Yeah. So I played on a bunch of different travel teams. So I'm from the East Coast, and most of my travel experience was up and down the East Coast. So I went as far down as Florida and all the way up to Connecticut area for both tournaments and clinics and stuff. But the travel teams that I was on were definitely very local ones. And despite like traveling all over the place up and down the East Coast, I actually got recruited in my backyard. like literally 15 minutes from home by
Wow.
the school that I'm at now. So it just goes to show that you don't necessarily have to go and travel all over the place. Because even when I did that, the school that I'm at now, I'm here because of going to a tournament that was 10 minutes away from my house.
Wow, super. And actually, you guys, all three of you are, pretty close to where you went to college, where you grew up from. And so could you speak a little bit more to that? And even like, what was the difference between jumping from that high school club to college? Level?
So for me,
Yeah.
I definitely wanted to like stay close enough to home, but also like get to have that independent feeling. So I'm actually closer than half of my teammates that are from Maryland. And I'm in a completely different state. So it's super nice because you have that like independence aspect that you like want when it comes to college from like parents and just getting to like learn how to live on your own. While at the same time, like if something happened with my family or friends or something like that, I could get home within an hour and have no problem with that. But switching up from like going to a smaller school in PA to a smaller school in college wasn't really much of a difference for me. I can't speak for somebody like Ash who's at a ginormous school, but I mean, around like our campus, it's a 2-mile loop. So it's not a huge like far walk when we're trying to like get from the one side of campus to the other. So you can still do it in a walkable distance, but also like
She might have froze.
it's big enough like you not sorry. Did
There you
I
are.
freeze out?
There you are.
Oh, yeah.
You're
Did you hear
back,
any of what I
Courtney.
said? Can you hear
Anything,
anything?
anything else, Courtney? You're back.
Oh, I think that was it. I don't know what you guys last heard.
Could you just, I was reading a little bit on your background there. You went in there as a freshman with a bang, and I didn't read everybody's detail real much. Talk to that. You went in there, you were able to start right away. You got some awards, honors.
Yeah, so my freshman year, I was actually kind of hoping to fly a little bit under the radar when I went to college, just like selfishly. I was a very like big thing in like my local area, so it was like nice to like okay, fresh start, don't have to like worry about I don't know, just like can get to be a college kid and not have to like focus as much on like being in the news, and then that kind of didn't happen. So when I came in, we did not have there was one pitcher that wasn't a pitcher. She had switched back into pitching after like 3 years of not doing that because we didn't have anybody else. So I didn't really have a choice but to come in and try to just prove myself. So that's kind of it wasn't necessarily like what you might have wanted as a freshman, because sometimes you want to like go in and like kind of ease into things instead of just kind of get thrown into the fire. But it was definitely an experience to say the least. And I mean, I'm still here, even though it was a lot freshman year, but it's okay.
Great. Ashley, I want to go to you next because a little similar, again, bang freshman year, but then sophomore injury, right?
Yeah, so I came in freshman year and kind of took over. I wouldn't say the ace duties. We had 3 really solid pitchers, but I definitely pitched the majority of the innings. But I wanted to do that coming in. I definitely knew what I was capable of coming in, and I wanted to compete and just be the best that I could be and be the best essentially. So I had those aspirations coming in. But yeah, I think, and we had a really solid team that year. We went to super regionals that year as well. But yeah, so yeah, like you said, sophomore year, that fall, I felt like something in my back. And then, cause I was kind of like pitching a lot during the fall because the 2 pitchers that were also here my freshman year, one graduated, one transferred. So I was the only returning pitcher. So I was pitching a lot still. And we had a freshman that was highly recruited out of high school, but wasn't like really living up to the hype at that point in time. So I was starting to pitch a lot, even like fall games, fall practice, stuff like that. And then come sophomore season, 2 weeks before season, got an MRI. I had a back injury, so I had to sit out for 4 weeks, all of preseason. And that was no fun, obviously. It's very hard to sit on the sidelines. It's like, and just like you just want to go out there and just prove yourself even more and just even expand on the year before. And you just want to be out there. You just want to go out there and compete. And so that was very difficult. But season actually got cut short because of COVID. And I was actually supposed to come back that weekend that everything got shut down and eased back into playing. But so thankfully got that year back. And I've had some nagging injuries here and there. Last season, I actually wasn't able to pitch for a short time because of another injury. It seems it's a common trend for me apparently, but just like the amount of innings I pitched, even in high school, I had a few injuries because I pretty much pitched every game in high school and was like one of two pitchers in travel ball even. So it's yeah, I've had some injuries over the years, but the amount of things that they've taught me and the doors they've actually opened and taught me about myself has just been innumerable. So
Cool. Yeah, injuries got to be hard to come. Jesse, there's not a lot on the background or whatever, but on your web pages as much as the other ones, so I apologize. But I love all the different, and because I know that we have an audience that is very varied and different, and they can relate to having to have gone through an injury or having to have lived up to expectations or thinking it was going to be different or whatever. But tell us a little bit more about your coming from club to college, Jesse.
Well, for me, it was super important to stay close to home. And I was born and raised near Fort Collins, Colorado, and there's not a lot of really good options, I guess, close to home. And so I knew like that was my top request, is to be, an hour or two from home. And there's like UNC and Colorado State, and then there's the Denver RMAC schools, which is what I'm in. And that's a big reason why I chose D2. And I also knew that I wanted to go to college and I wanted to play all 4 years. I didn't want to do the, big D1, go sit a year, go sit 2 years. Like I knew I wanted to go and be the star of the show right away. And even though that is one thing I want to touch on is like, you think going from club ball to college, like you're going to go in and be the number one player. Like usually players that go to college are the best on their team in club. And once you get to college, you're with 20 plus other girls that were also the best on their team. And so you kind of get a quick like realization that, you're not the best ever. Like you're not the best in your state. You're not whatever. It humbles you a lot, but also like teaches you a lot about yourself and forces you to grow and to work hard. And that's the one thing that's super different between club ball and college ball is you go from kind of doing it as a hobby in a way. And don't get me wrong, I still love it and I still do it as a hobby, but you go into a business and like you're now getting paid to play and you have higher expectations and you have a lot of other things on your plate, like living by yourself and feeding yourself and having college classes and all these things. And it's a lot. So if you can like really focus on your wants and needs, and that for me was staying close to home and knowing that like my support system would be right there if I needed and all these things, then I think that's your biggest change is your expectations and your, I guess, time management with softball, because it's a lot in college in a good way.
That's great perspective, Jesse. Thanks for sharing that, because those are the realities, right? And I'm sure some of you girls have faced that, maybe going from, 8th grade into high school and thinking that you're going to make varsity and maybe you didn't, and the disappointment and just having to work harder to overcome, and the injury like Ashley talked about, and Courtney, where she thought maybe, she'd fly under the radar a little bit and was put into, that higher role. So I love that, the differences here. I can just share this screen again. And so we want to then even touch on more specifics, you guys, with your recruiting. So like, when did you start your recruiting process and kind of what consists of? A couple of you touched on some of those. and what factors were important? A few of you were saying, you know, being closer to home, but even was there other colleges that you had offers from maybe, or why did you pick where you're at over some other schools? How early, what grade? Some of you were probably in that when you could make that verbal commitment as young as 9th grade back then, and the same with the offers. So who wants to start on that one?
I can go.
Ashley.
Oh, can you
Oh,
share?
you want to
those
see that,
again?
Ashley? I'm
Yes.
sorry.
I
Yeah, I can share that
think
again.
that's okay. If not, I
But
can
because
wait.
were you in on when you guys could early commit, Ashley, or no?
Yeah, I was.
Okay.
I did not commit in 8th grade.
Okay.
Yeah, so I started I didn't realize that I wanted to play college softball until I was about a freshman in high school. And it was honestly my family that kind of not pressured, but like pushed me to pursue softball, because I love basketball and I thought I was going to play some college basketball. Love me some Pat Summitt, you know, and
Yeah.
just yeah. So I thought I was going to play college basketball, and definitely not at this level, but just want to play college basketball. And then my family was like, Ashley, you have so much potential to be like a good pitcher. And I was good, but I wasn't that good. I was like running off a natural talent at that point in time. But then I started kind of like realizing, hey, I mean, I could do something with this pitching thing. And then I just kind of fell in love with it from there. And so I kind of started looking at colleges my freshman year of high school. And then it wasn't until sophomore year, or maybe like late freshman, early sophomore, that I started like going to camps, just in that sense. And I was looking at actually a small, like a local D2 college, Lee University, and then a mid-major D1 in Nashville, is the two colleges I was actually looking at. So I actually went to a Tennessee camp over Christmas of my sophomore year to see another coach from a different college. And then one of my good buddies, who I actually had played with a couple of times, she was committed to Tennessee, and I hung around with her pretty much the entire camp. We were the same age. And then they saw me, Ralph and Karen saw me, and I guess I like what they saw, I suppose. I don't know. But and they just kind of showed interest. And then it was that point I was like, oh wow, Tennessee. And I grew up a Tennessee fan. Love Tennessee, bleed orange. And so like obviously when Tennessee showed interest, I was like, oh my gosh, like freaking out, you know. And so I pretty much went on a visit, and a month later like committed pretty much. And it honestly wasn't until after then that I got to the level that I'm at now, and like the good, where I was actually ranked. I was pretty much like not ranked at all, nowhere in any sort of poll or ranking, or on a very good travel team at that point in time. But it wasn't until after I committed, honestly, that I got good, really, and just kind of got some like national attention, or even attention at all. But yeah, I would say I'm kind of a little anomaly in that sense. I'm definitely not the same. I was not getting ranked when I was 8th grade. I mean, obviously people were committing to Power 5 schools in 8th grade, but I did not commit until sophomore year. But yeah, so I did not have any other offers from any other schools at that point in time, either, not even the ones I was looking at that I had not gotten offered yet. I was just talking to the coaches, just looking at the schools. So my recruiting path looked quite a bit different, but good. That goes to show that it can look different for anybody. It doesn't have to be this cookie cutter way. It looks very different. And even with the new rules in place about the junior year, it doesn't mean anything really what you're ranked in 8th grade, like, because the development, and it's really up to every person how much you want to put into it, and because it doesn't really matter what you do in high school. It doesn't perfectly translate into college if you quit working. You have to continue working. It's up to you how good you want to be and how good you can be. So I would just, even if any of you guys are discouraged about how you're performing, or that you're not ranked as high as you thought you'd be, honestly, just keep going. Just put the blinders on and just keep going to work. Keep working hard, because I promise you it'll pay off in the end. Like I said, I committed pretty much as a walk-on, and when I was a sophomore, and then by the time that I got to my NIL, yeah, I had about 50% scholarship, but the rest was covered with academics. Also, do your work in school, because it pays off a lot in the long run, especially if you're in state. And after that, I've worked my way up to a full ride with my performance here. So it just goes to show that you just keep working. It doesn't stop when you commit. It doesn't stop when you get to college. It continues every single day, and it can look different for everyone. It's not going to look different from your teammates. It's so individualized, and it's up to you how far you want to go with it.
So let me just comment on that, Ashley. You said you went as a walk-on, you didn't have softball scholarship, just so that people can hear that on here.
Yeah. So when
The
I
first
committed,
year.
I essentially
Yeah.
was like, I don't care. I'll just come to Tennessee because that's
Uh-huh.
Tennessee, obviously. But then when I had started getting national attention by my senior year, I
Yep.
committed sophomore year, senior year when I got my NLI on November 8th or whatever day it is.
Yeah.
I had like a 45% scholarship because I was in state. I had good grades, made a good score on my ACT. That I had like a good amount of in-state money coming in, which covered pretty much the entire academic portion of it. So softball was covering about the other half. There was like a little bit that I had to pay, but not much at all. But came in with less than a 50% scholarship as a freshman, and a year or two later was labeled as a full ride on my NLI. Gosh, I cannot say that word. So it just goes to show, just keep working. And it was based pretty much because I was doing good on the field, doing good in classrooms, was a good kid. So yeah, it grew from there, continuously grew.
Yes, so I hope you guys take that advice, as Ashley's saying, the grades, and I know a lot of you are great students, and maybe initially it's like, hey, they don't have money or they're not promising you money, but as you continue to progress and by the time you're ready to sign, you've gotten better and things can happen. And then certainly when you're there and performing and doing what you need to do. That's awesome. Great. Jesse?
I can,
Or Courtney?
I completely agree with Ash on this. Two things. First of all, school, so important in high school, especially. And then obviously always important through college, but super good to work hard in high school so you can get academic scholarships too, because they help out way more than you think. Second of all, I loved your statement about like natural talent and how, like everyone runs on natural talent. Eventually that runs out. And when you get to college, like what you've done in high school means nothing. And it's all about how hard you work from there on out. And that's like kind of what I said earlier, when it's a business, like schools are going to give money to their best performers. It's just like any job, like your best performer is going to make more money in the business world. And so if you keep working hard, like no matter what, then you're going to come out on top. And that's financially and in the softball world. But personally, I was actually very similar to Ash. I was never like ranked as a college or like as a high school student or anything. I talked about it earlier, but TC was super good with getting us in camps. And we always talked about the five factors of recruiting. Jess, you might have to help me out on this, but education is one of them, and location and location.
Campus
Why am I
size-
blanking on these? What are the other ones?
Campus size, and then financial fit as well.
Yes. And so that was something like to help narrow down school super easily. And like for me, that narrowed it down like to probably 3 schools, because I knew, like I said, I wanted to be an hour from home. So I looked at the schools an hour from home or 2 hours from home, whatever. And they're right there. That's only 4 schools. Then at the time I wanted to be a nursing major, and I was super passionate about that. And so I knew I needed to pick a school that had the educational program I want. And that was something I cared about above softball, even above the division. So I was willing to give up like Division I athletics for, a good nursing program or whatever. And so for me, like I started to weigh those options and find my fit, I guess, as CSC says. And if you really actually do just break it down on those 5 factors, then you'll find your fit like super easily. And for me, Regis was my only offer. I had interest from other places, but I pretty much knew right off the bat from just going through those things with myself that that's exactly where I wanted to go. It was my perfect fit. It was nursing program. It was close to home. It was great education. It was a small campus, D2 softball, which is great softball, like all these things. And so those were definitely the main factors that I think everyone should evaluate for themselves. And I was committed by junior year, so I wasn't like super early or anything like that. And like Ash said, everyone is different. There's no one size fits all for recruiting. It's I mean, you could commit up to the day before you go to college. So there's no rush there. And also there's time. There's always time. So definitely don't get discouraged in the recruiting process, because it's very stressful, and don't let anyone tell you it's not, because it is. It's so hard. But once you get there and everything, then it'll all work out, and you're going to be so happy that you went through that. And yeah.
That hard process prepares you for some of the tough stuff you have to deal with once you're there, like you said,
Definitely.
being on your own and everything, right?
Yes.
Good. Thanks, Jesse. Courtney, you're off the field.
I
Yay.
am. I'm home now.
Okay.
So I'm gonna like very much reiterate the same thing as Ash and Jesse. I was not a ranked person coming out of high school or going into high school. I committed a little earlier than when they committed. I committed the spring of my sophomore year or junior year, one of those two time frames and everything. And hold on once. Sorry, one of my roommates walked in. But so I committed pretty early on. But for me, my biggest focuses on a school were obviously something close to home. But as you guys heard from like what my degree is in and what my master's is going to be in, academics is a very big thing for me. And it was honestly one of the things that scared my mom the most about the whole recruiting process to begin with, because she didn't want me to go to college and be an athlete student. She wanted me to be able to be a student. And knowing a lot of like my friends and everything like that, that had been told that there are certain majors they weren't allowed to go to certain places because certain schools only allow you to do certain things, especially when it comes to STEM degrees. I don't know if it is for Regis and Tennessee, but I know there are certain schools that like have told people, hey, you can't major in engineering if that's what you wanted to major in, or a lot of Division I schools put a very hard cutoff on nursing degrees and make you do something before going to nursing school, just because of the demand of your course load. So finding a school that was going to help me balance both of those and allow me to truly be a student, because when you go to college, yes, you're going and playing any type of division softball, D1, D2, D3, you're all going to play college softball if you go to college for it. And that is an accomplishment in itself. It doesn't matter the level. I mean, obviously some might be slightly more demanding, but I know a lot of friends that play in D3 schools that have a higher time commitment than I do, because they don't have hours. So they have to be doing a lot more things than a lot of us can, because of we have strict time limits that we have to stick on. Also UMBC, which most people might not even know of. In case you wanted to know, we did beat #1 Virginia. That's how everybody knows who our school is in March Madness a couple years back. But we are very well known for our research. So we are one of the like 150 R1 research campuses in the whole United States. So being a STEM major and coming to a school that is very prestigious in our STEM department, like I said, was also just something to really focus on. The team when I came in was not good. They were ranked dead last every single year. And then my class came in and we actually turned everything around. And now we're 3-time reigning champs in our conference and have made an appearance in regionals every single year. So hope like it's also at the end of the day, when like Jesse said about finding your fit, it doesn't necessarily have to be the biggest school, because sometimes that's just not for everybody. But that doesn't mean that going to a mid-major school, going to a D2 school doesn't mean that you're still not going to play some of the biggest competition at the end of the day, because I'm still playing on the same field. My freshman year I played against Oklahoma, and I go to a much smaller school, a much less funded school than they do, and I was still on the same field as them. So
Courtney, how big is your school? Students?
we have we're big commuting community. So we have about 14,000 that we have. So it's a lot, but we don't have that much on campus. And then we have like 5,000 grad students like in that 14,000. So about 11,000 undergrad. So
And Jesse, how big is Regis?
It's super small. I think it's like 4,000 kids. Maybe.
Okay.
That might even be a stretch.
Yeah, and Ashley, you Tennessee?
I think it's about 35,000, and I would guesstimate, don't hold me to this, probably about 25 to 27,000 undergrad.
Okay, just to give our people a frame of mind. Yeah, great, awesome, very great insight. So we're just gonna switch gears here a little, and Jesse Hill is going to talk about what CES is and does, and to give more insight. Jesse has been referring to them, and so go ahead, Jesse Hill.
Yeah, thanks for passing the mic. So I'm Jesse with College Sports Evaluation, and we are a partner with NCSA, and are very fortunate to actually work with all of these athletes on the call today. They are part of our CSE NIL team, and we've had the privilege of kind of co-branding together through their college days. And so a quick hit on what College Sports Evaluation is. We provide athletes with verified objective and subjective data needed to identify developmental needs and which college level skill sets match up to. So what that means is really, you've heard these girls talk about their recruiting journey and how there's a lot to consider when considering which college is the best fit for you. So we're really trying to help athletes find their best fit. And sometimes where that starts is identifying which division level is best for you. It's really fun to dream about playing at a big Power 5 school, but you look at Jessie Case and she's like, I want to play all 4 years. So maybe that's not my path, and I want to play close to home. There's a lot to consider when you're trying to figure out which college program is best for you. Basically what our camps look like, we've partnered with our sister company Triple Crown and a few other camps around the country, and provide sensor data technology testing to athletes along with college coach analysis. So it's a multi-hour camp that you get a really refined look at you as an athlete, your skill sets from an objective and subjective eye. And so what we're also doing in unison with testing the youth athletes, we're testing all division levels, colleges across the nation. And we have a dedicated math and data team that essentially are crunching all of the numbers from what a catcher at the D2 level looks like in difference to a catcher at the D1 level or JUCO and everywhere in between, and can really get a finite look at what level your skill sets match up to, and also not only where you're at right now, but developmental needs. So you heard these girls talk a lot about how developing as an athlete, like you're never done developing. So at 14 years old, maybe you take one of our camps and see that you're aligning skill set wise with maybe a JUCO or low D3 team, and then you continue to develop year after year, get retested, see how you're growing. And then all of that data gets pumped into what we will newly be releasing this year. It's our college coach portal that coaches can access and see your data and identify needs on their end from their program needs, specific types of players, and find some good athletes to recruit into their program. And another offering that I love that's part of our events is a mindset assessment as well. We're partnered with Riser, and they have a TAP assessment that gives some really cool insight into an athlete. It's almost like a personality trait for athletes, and it shows a whole spectrum of things that that correlate directly to your abilities on the field. So some really cool insights, and we work with some awesome sensor data technology partners, including Blast Motion, Rapsodo as well. So this page that Joyce just turned to, for everyone who's attending tonight, go ahead and use that QR code to scan in to take a look at our schedule for 2023. We're kicking our first testing out in Northern California Memorial Day weekend, and then the schedule kicks into gear from there. Really busy with a lot of events offered summer into fall. And note that on this page as well, we have a 15% off coupon to take one of our camps. So we have that shared here. Go ahead and write it down. It's CSENIL 15 off. So that's 15% off for registration, and we'll go ahead and message that out after this this chat as well. And then the second thing listed there is we do offer club and team camps and kind of whole roster evaluations. So yeah, a lot of cool stuff going on, and we're just so thrilled to be able to really connect the youth athletes to the collegiate level in a way that hasn't been done before.
Yeah, gals, I know, and families, just by a show of hands, has anybody done this at all? Has anybody been to a CSE event at all? Just show of hands if you would. But it's a critical part of the profile, you know, identifying like your pitching velocities, overhand arm throwing, and ball exit speed, some of those measurements for college coaches to fully evaluate you. So this is great opportunity if you're able to get out at any of these events, because it's going to be verified coaches. This is going to be a trusted source for a college coach. All right. Well, let's get back then. Hopefully you guys got that. Take a picture of this, scan this if you would. But let's go on to a couple more. I want to shift gears and go off the field. You heard about some of these studies and majors that these gals are in. How do you manage the time, you guys? Is there a difference, Jesse, between Division II and Courtney and Ashley between Division I? I coached at both. I coached against Tennessee. We're 0-1. Monica Abbott pitched when I was coaching. So Ashley's laughing at that. My girls were scared. She was, you know, coach, she's so tall. She's stepping out of the circle. She's in our face when she's pitching. We got one hit, Ashley. So, and Courtney, UMBC, I think we're 2-0 against them way back then. Yeah, but how do you manage that? And what would a typical week, and really like year round? I tell them it's year round. Division I and II, you are year round softball with them. There's some differences between winter and all that, but just the whole missing classes, making up things and all that. So if you would talk about that, and I'm just gonna switch off of that. Okay, stop share. Is that all right? Who wants to start? Jesse, you want to take a stab first on this one?
Sure. Well, first thing I'm going to say is like college is hard and there's a lot of things going on, but one thing that my team always says is like, we just figure it out. You just find a time, you find a way, you figure it out, and at the end you end up getting it all done. So there's really no, like I said earlier, there's no one size fits all to like balancing all this, but you figure it out eventually. With that though, at least at my school, I'm sure at UMBC, I don't know about Tennessee, but we always had study hall hours for especially freshmen, like making that adjustment into college, getting all settled in and stuff. And that's mandatory, like maybe a couple times a week for a couple hours or whatever. And that definitely helps with managing things, because then you have a scheduled time block of your night to work on school, and you're not going to have softball during that time and whatever else. And also with that, like when you're on the road and yeah, you miss class and that's hard and you got to make up stuff a lot. But when you spend that much time on the bus, you usually like find a way to get some homework done on the bus, or, on a Saturday night after the games, which sucks, but sometimes you got to do what you got to do. And personally, like my thing, and you couldn't always make it perfect like this, but I always tried to just get things done as quick as possible, like as early in the week as possible, because as season goes on and as the weeks go on, like things are up in the air and they get crazier and schedule changes and you got to travel when you don't expect it. And there's all these things. And if you just use the time that you have like in between a class, instead of, maybe taking a nap one day or whatever, then just to get something done that you were planning on doing later that week, then when those things come up, it's that much easier to adjust to it. And like I said, you just eventually figure it out and you make it happen, and it is what it is. But yeah, there's definitely strategies that you can use to balance that, and everyone finds their own eventually.
So I heard you taking a nap, Jesse. Tell about like maybe what a typical, yeah, because I get it. Did you have to do early morning practices and,
Yeah.
and study late at night, or can you just describe a little bit like?
No,
Okay.
yeah. So off season is different than in season, but in general, like usually, at least for my team, we do morning weights 2 or 3 times a week, depending on the time of year.
6
And so
a.m.
that
or
means you're
how early?
Usually morning weight starts at 6 a.m. So you get up at 5:30 and you're like waking up and throwing a shirt on and making it to weights like within 10 minutes. At least that's me. But then usually classes start at 8 and we have practice in the afternoon at 2:30 or 3. So you have to like make your schedule in between there. Usually you have 2 or 3 classes a day, but that's with a lunch break or a break between your class and practice or whatever. And so there's usually a couple different hours of the day, or maybe it's only just 1 hour, but you can squeeze in a nap or work on homework for a little bit or grab food or, all of the above, all those things. But practice every day. Usually for D2, we get 2 off days in the fall and 1 off day in the spring. So usually you load up that off day with homework and self-care and naps and all those things. But then on the weekends, obviously you have games. We do our games differently than D1. We just play 2 days of the weekend, which is a doubleheader on Saturday and a doubleheader on Sunday. And so we don't miss quite as much school, I don't think, but that's mostly our schedule. We travel on Fridays and come back on Sunday nights and then restart the next week.
Long bus rides.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Ashley or Courtney? Courtney's sideways now.
I am sideways now. So for me, I mean, the 3 of us can attest to the fact that we went to school pre-COVID. So I know for a fact that things have at least definitely changed at my school since COVID was a thing. So my freshman year and part of sophomore year, when we were traveling, we were really missing a lot of class, and it was a lot more difficult to be able to make things up. And like because when you missed a lecture, like there was no online option to either attend it or like an online video that you could go back and watch. Now, at least our school, a lot of professors have their recordings that they had from COVID. So depending on your relationship with your professors, you should have a good relationship with them. But if you have that relationship with them, a lot of the time they want you to still be successful, even if you're an athlete. And going to them and going out of your way to do that, a lot of them will share those. So it's not as much missing class as it was previously. At least that's how I noticed it change a little bit over like the years. Now grad school is completely different because grad school is just hard. It doesn't matter what you do for your master's or if you're in your PhD program, it's just hard. It doesn't seem like it's going to be that bad. And then out of nowhere, you can just have everything drop on you all at once. And I know I can attest for Ashley having to stay up late for a lot of her stuff that she does. I know that I also have, there are some times where you have to pull some very late nights. I am thankful that during season, we do not have morning stuff. So we actually lift at 4:00 in the afternoon, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. Now, if you have to do a makeup thing because of classes, you will have to lift probably in the morning. But they are switching that to an 8 a.m. lift for next year. But my entire time that we've been here, it's been 4 p.m. Tuesdays and Thursdays, and then most of the time it's a morning Friday lift. But now it's an afternoon Friday lift, so we don't really get a lot of those in during season because of our schedule. Being in the conference that I'm in, we are the southest most for our conference. I'm in the America East. So some of the schools in our conference are Maine or up in Massachusetts. So we have long bus rides. Like the one that we're going on tomorrow, my freshman year took us 13 and a half hours to get there because we hit traffic going through Long Island. We used to play Stony Brook, which is in Long Island, and that's only supposed to be about a 5-hour trip. And typically on a bus, it takes anywhere from 8 to 9. So as Jesse said, like you've learned to try to figure out a way to do some of your stuff on the bus, if at all possible. But there are times when you're just going to have to pull some late nights and maybe deal with a coffee or I'm not condoning energy drinks, but an energy drink the next day and hopefully be able to catch up on sleep the following night. But you will get used to it. And it's not like it's going to be like that every single day. It's could be like maybe twice a week or something like that. But that's when those off days really come into play of trying to like make up that lost sleep. And when you can, like, even if you take a 20-minute nap, sometimes like that's all you need to like be refreshed. Like there's been many nights where it's like, okay, well, I'm pooped after practice and after class and I've been up for a long time and I'll take like a 30-minute nap and then go for another 5 hours to do homework and everything. But you do figure it out. It might suck at some moments, but it's not going to be like that forever. It's like the same thing with a storm. Like the eye of the tornado is like the calmest part of it, and you're still going to have to go through some of those like rough times to get to good days and then rough times again, and then you'll be out of it. But it's definitely hard work, and academics is a big thing because if you're ineligible, you can't play anyway. So we just had that reminder conversation today. If you are ineligible, you cannot play. So you want to stay eligible and do whatever you have to do for that. Plus, there's probably a lot of people on your team that will have taken courses that you've already taken that can help you. But like Jesse said, we had freshman year, you have mandatory study hall hours that you have to go to. Depending on your GPA, you might have to stay in them longer. So I do know a couple of seniors that are still in study hall hours, whether they requested it or whether it was like designated to them because of having a rough semester. You might only have a couple or could have up to 6, sometimes more than that. Our lacrosse team, they have 10 study hall hours a week, and it doesn't matter what grade they are in, they all have it. So they really, most of the time the school does want you to be successful academically because again, if you're not eligible, you cannot play on the field.
And Ashley?
Yeah, so academics is a big thing for me as well. I want to be a doctor after I'm done with softball and whatnot. But so academics has been a big portion of and a big driving factor for me the entirety of my career. Like they all mentioned, we had study hall hours. I think it was 8 my freshman fall. And if you had a good enough GPA, then you got out of the study hall hours, but we're expected to maintain those good grades. Thankfully, I feel like one of the few Power 5 programs that competes a lot on the field as well and is like highly ranked as well. But I also have a coach who really values academics. And if you don't know anything about Karen Weekly, she was a lawyer. So she really values academics and really prioritizes that and expects you to put as much effort, if not more, effort into academics as you do softball. And she expects that of us. And I think it's really paid off in the long run for a lot of people. But just kind of, as I mentioned, like time management is probably the biggest thing that you can do that to help you. And it's going to help you in all aspects of life, not just in academics as well. But at Tennessee, we have the most amazing resources. We have a whole like area, like building department dedicated just to helping the athletes with their schooling, which is so amazing. And I have an amazing academic advisor who has helped me so much. But it is very personally driven as well. If you're not, they will hold your hand if they need to, like we have a football team, if you catch what I'm saying. So they're there to help you. And it's very important to utilize those resources because they will open up the red carpet for you if you want to, but it's up to you to actually utilize those resources. But just kind of as I was saying, especially with like undergrad is so much, it's more courses, and a lot of busy work. And especially, but that's apparent primarily like your first years, a lot of busy work, your little intro gen ed classes. But those kind of dictate there's a lot of like feeder classes and whatnot. But as you progress in your major and whatnot, it's a lot more studying, and that's on you. Like you have to dedicate time to study how much you need personally, how much it's not really, the professors aren't going to, in college, the professors aren't going to be like, well, did you turn your homework in? They don't care. They're still getting paid either way. So it's really important to just utilize the resources you have to form those relationships with the professors. And at a big school like me, there's like 300 plus people in undergrad classes. So it's, you do have to go out of your way to like introduce yourself to your professor, and even just showing effort really just sets you so much far above all the other students, honestly. But it's really important to just utilize those resources and just like really use your professors, because they really want to help you and they really want to see you succeed. But as Courtney mentioned, in grad school, it's a little different, and she kind of exposed me. But especially in my major, I do research and I work in a lab a lot. So there's these big fancy computers, big fancy software, and I can only do my work on those computers and that software. I can't do it on my laptop on the road. And about our schedule, we play a 3-game SEC series. So we play Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or Saturday, Sunday, Monday, whatever. But we leave midday on Thursday. And in grad school, all of your classes are in the afternoon because none of those professors want to get there in the morning. So we have all of our classes in the afternoon. And so I miss class probably about half the week or more. So thankfully, obviously, I have great professors. I have a good relationship with them because there's like 7 people in my program. So it's a little easier to form a good relationship with them. But when I get back, I literally have to dedicate time. And I've gotten to the point where I'm like, got everything scheduled down to the minute. So like, I'm going to do this exact assignment from 9 to 11. And that's what I'm going to do. And it's like, I think that has helped me so much, just kind of really just not being like, I'm going to work on schoolwork from 9 to 11. No, I'm going to work on this specific assignment, do this specific thing from 9 to 11. Like just really even just being so detailed and so specific with those kind of assignments. Yeah, even all that to say, I graduated with a 4.0 in undergrad. So I worked really hard in undergrad, and just a lot of my time was spent studying. But if I had to go back and do it again, I would honestly try to allot more time to my personal life and just like things outside of softball and outside of school, because that's what I spent all my time doing. If I wasn't doing softball, I was doing schoolwork. And I just kind of, it can build up and become emotionally, sorry, that's my dog in the background, emotionally overwhelming. And it just gets to the point where you're just so burnt out, you're so drained. I kind of lost my love for softball. I got so burnt out on school. But I would just encourage you, even at your age now, to just find things that you're passionate about outside of softball. And just kind of what Jesse mentioned, like self-care, just even like on the off days, just having like, go get your nails done, go get a massage, whatever. Just like really allotting time to take care of yourself as an athlete and as a person, and realize that you're not just a student, you're not just an athlete, but you're a person as well. And you need that time outside of those two things that you spend 95% of your time doing. So it's so important to just like prioritize that and prioritize yourself sometimes, and not just get so caught up in the rush. And it's so easy to, especially at this level, because we're so busy. Like they mentioned their schedules, and mine's the same as well. Every hour of the day seems to be taken up by something. So it's so important that you prioritize yourself as a person too, as you do as an athlete and a student.
Okay, great. I do see Cindy on here, and so I want to just do this other slide, and then I'm going to let the 2 gals that were able to come here. So Sydney and Addison. So we'll get to them. Jesse Hill, okay. But these 3, man, I really appreciate what you guys have shared and talked on, different processes, you guys got a lot. I know there's some questions in here, and I think some of you missed the first part. So they did address a lot of that, even how the academics and all that fit. So I do want to, like I said, just do this quick survey here for NCSA. We always want you to give us feedback on your experience. So I'm going to put that in the chat box here. And then if anybody is interested in getting help on the recruiting process, an online presence, that's what we do. We help you build the profile, and we help give you guidance and direction on your recruiting process. Being a former coach, I have 6 teammates. I think pretty much every one of them was a former coach or a travel coach. And so we can guide you through what we've seen on the other side as college coaches. So you guys can scan this if you do want help. Those of you guys that are current members, continue to look for Zoom opportunities like this for learning. And if you would take that survey that I just threw in the chat box. but I'll leave this up here, but I want to get to our other two that have just joined us, Addison and Sydney. I think Addie, you were on there. Sydney, can you find how to get your camera up? Addison, are you? Sydney? Oh,
Yeah,
Addison
I'm on
was.
here. It says my video is disabled.
Um,
And Joyce, I do want to be cognizant of time as
Yes.
I'm coming up on the hour mark here.
Yep,
So if we want to hear from Sid and Addie on a quick hit, that'd be
Yeah.
great.
yep, that's all I was gonna say.
Do some follow-up questions and videos with them later and get it out to the crew of everyone who chimed in and listened today.
Right.
And, you know, also allow Courtney, Jess, and
Yes,
Ashley to get on with it too. So yeah.
yep, yeah, if they want to leave, that's what I was saying, Jesse. If those three really appreciate you guys interjecting here, your experiences was awesome to hear. And we will be following you guys. All right.
Thank you guys.
Thanks,
Thank
everybody.
you.
For jumping on.
Yes. And so I see Sydney up on camera, and if Ashley is able to get up on camera. Sydney, you can just give us a little your background and where you came from and being there at Wichita. I know you guys had some weather things. There's Addison.
Yeah, from like the beginning of my softball career.
Yeah, yeah. And how you ended
All
up
right.
at Wichita, position you play. Because both of you are out of state, right? And came to Kansas, Wichita, Kansas.
Yep. I started playing softball when I was about 6 years old. Played on I think it was a 12U competitive team. Didn't play a lot, but I was little. I was just having fun. Sat the bench a lot. Started to get better, and then I played on teams my own age, and yeah, just kind of went from there. Knew from a pretty early age that I wanted to go to college, and ended up at Mizzou. I got recruited when I was about 15, I believe. It was before the recruiting rule. So got recruited by Pete DeMore and Aaron Earlywine. Then right before I got there was coaching change to Larissa now, and gave it a shot the first semester. Wasn't the right fit for me. Then went to my first visit. I had a few visits scheduled. Went to Wichita State first, and then canceled all my visits because I knew that that's where I wanted to be.
Okay.
I was senior.
You're
I'm a
senior.
fifth year shortstop. And yeah, we're in Memphis right now. We play Memphis tomorrow for conference.
And so weather delay or reschedule or
I think we're gonna be able to play. We just practiced today, but it's been raining, and then we'll play tomorrow, Friday and Saturday.
And so as always on road trips, you guys have to be flexible, right? Anything can happen and anything goes.
Yes.
Hey, and Sydney, you were also in high school, you pitched too, right?
Yes, I did.
Primary pitcher for your high school team?
Yeah, I went to a super small high school, so I think there's only about 13 on the team, so there wasn't really an option. I just kind of had to do it. But I had a lot of fun. I liked it.
Yep, and just so these girls can hear that sometimes you play a different position in college or, you know, in high school, you have to for the good of the team.
Yeah, absolutely. In high school, I played shortstop, third, pitched, and then we didn't have enough for the baby team, so I'd go play first and catch. So just kind of wherever I needed to go. And that's kind of how college is too. When I got here my freshman year, mid-year, I was a second baseman. And then the next year, I went to third. And then the next year, I went to shortstop. So all over.
I love that. I did the same to some of my athletes. Cool.
Yeah.
Addie,
Yeah, I like it.
Addison.
Yes. Yeah. So, kind of same route. I've been playing softball pretty much my whole life. Grew up in a small town in Nebraska. Just kind of did some little league stuff, played t-ball, that kind of stuff. I actually played in Class C ball or travel ball for a while. And then I kind of played for a town team that was higher up. And then one day I was recruited by Nebraska Gold to move up in club organizations. And so that was a big change for me because I'm used to a small town. And then one day, one of my teammates was like, "Hey, do you want to go to Wichita State camp?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm not even sure like where that is or what it is or what the program is about." But yeah, so I went to a 3-day camp at Wichita State, and that went pretty well. And then the coaches kind of reached out afterwards and was like, "Hey, we would like to ask you to come on a visit." And so I went on a visit, and it was just kind of like a close-knit mid-major school that was the perfect fit for me. Wasn't too far away from home, but was far away enough that gave the college feel. And so, yeah, and I grew up being a pitcher, shortstop, middle infield. But when I got to college, I was moved to the outfield. For my first 2 years here, I played right field, and now I'm in left field. So, yeah.
Great. Okay. I know I want to honor the time, Jesse Hill. So unless you feel we have a little bit more with him or not, it's up to you.
You know what I'm thinking, Joyce, is thank you, Sid and Addie for jumping on. I know it was, so many elements you just can't control. And so I might just do some follow-up Q&A with them, video on another time, and then send it out to the crew who was on today. And I also saw a question stream through, is Kaylee Mudge joining us today? And unfortunately she had an unforeseen scheduling conflict with her being on the road traveling, playing this weekend as well. And so we were just so fortunate to get all the athletes on we did today. And I'll try and get a little bit of time with Mudge, and then maybe Addie and Sid and I can connect later at a time that they're not in the bus and dealing with pouring rain.
Yeah. No, this was great. And gals, you had some questions about balancing things, and those other three talked a great deal about that and the majors they have and everything. So again, follow Wichita State, everybody that's on here. This is recorded. I'm going to send that out, but we are so appreciative, Jesse, of setting this and coordinating this with your gals. And what a great opportunity that our people had to hear from them. So get to the playoffs and we'll be watching all along. So thanks, everybody. You guys take care. Have a great rest of your night.